Welcome to this webinar on Safety Assurance Framework for Connected and Automated Mobility Systems. I'm Julie Castermans from Ertico ITS Europe, and I will be your moderator for today, and better with the sound. Before I introduce our speakers, and you might have seen the slides, but without the sound, I'd like to mention a few points from practical standpoint important for the webinar. One of them was to use the chat box in the GoToWebinar interface to let us know in case of any issue, for example, the sound. The other one is that we will take your questions after the two presentations. So during the webinar, please raise your questions using the question box in your GoToWebinar interface. And then finally, this webinar is recorded, and we will be sharing the recording as well as the presentation slides on the SUNRISE project website. So now the proper introduction for our two speakers. So the first speaker, John-Fredrik Grönvall, is Area Manager, Field Operational Test, Naturalistic Driving Studies at CHALMERS. And John-Fredrik will give us an overview of the SUNRISE project as well as the SUNRISE Safety Assurance Framework. Then Jordi Pont, who is ADAS and CAV project manager at IDIADA, will give us an overview and gaps of existing safety assurance frameworks. And now, really, without further ado, I'll give the word to our first speaker. John-Fredrik, the floor is yours. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Julie. I hope can you just confirm that you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Julie? Yeah, perfect. So that the technology works. Thank you very much, Julie, for the introduction. My name is John-Fredrik Grönvall. I'm at CHALMERS in Göteborg, Sweden, and I will give you a presentation first of all about the SUNRISE project, the context where we are, and then later on, as a work package 2 leader, I will introduce you to our first version of the safety assurance framework in SUNRISE. SUNRISE is a European funded project where we aim to build up a safety assurance framework for automated vehicles. Because we believe that this is very important, as we see here, the vehicle developers need to understand what scenarios they need to test their automated vehicles for. And then also the certifiers, they need to know how to assess the safety of automated vehicles. The researchers on their side, they also need data about how to compare the automated vehicle test results to those of others. And then for those tool developers, it's also needed to understand how to make tools that fit for these different tests. And therefore, we have initiated first in work package 2 inventory of the existing several already existing initiatives here. In SUNRISE, we're working both with physical and virtual testing so that we can see in the future and validate the results from both the physical and virtual testings. The project itself runs from September last year, 2022, and it's a 4-year project, so we will be ready in August 2025. As you see here, the build-up, the framework of the actual project is that we have the first part in work package 2 that we will come back to in a few minutes is the inventory of the existing safety assurance frameworks, such as Sakura and other global initiatives. And then we have on the external cooperation, we have one leg with the methods and tool chains, where several of the work packages will do the work for that one. Then we have also another leg here is about the data framework within these safety assurance frameworks. By doing this, we think that we will be able to create a common safety assurance framework for automated vehicles. And that is where we will focus today most of. The project itself consists of more than 20 partners, as you see here on this picture here, both academia, institutes, and partly also some OEMs here and tier 1 suppliers. So we cover most of Europe's automotive area. As we mentioned, the project started previous year, so this is one of the general assemblies, and you see the wide variation of participants here from all over Europe. This was from the General Assembly in September 2023. We had one of the first physical meetings. So by that, I think it is time for us to go into the first work package where we actually try to create this safety assurance framework or harmonize a joint safety assurance framework within the community. And this work package, our objectives and deliverables for this work package is to first, as I mentioned, to make an inventory of the existing ones, and then develop a joint safety assurance framework when we have found the gaps where we can fill in on the existing ones, where to build up new knowledge. We also need to understand the safety argumentation principles for the safety assurance framework and provide evidence of how to derive these evidence and arguments. Later on, once we have our SUNRISE common safety assurance framework, during next year we will produce an online interactive safety assurance framework, probably a web-based tool, interactive, so that it can be used to understand and to make continuous developments of the safety assurance framework. And as I said, if we see where this work package focuses in the total work plan, we are first here, what we have done, what we will present now is the inventory of the existing safety assurance framework, and we are now in our way in the next task to produce the SUNRISE CCAM safety assurance framework and produce this interactive handbook. So this task that we will deep dive now with our colleagues here is the one that has been done and already deliverable is available for those that are interested. And just now, a couple of months ago, we started the next task 2.2, where we will produce this type of jointly agreed safety assurance framework. This picture that I assume that you cannot read just indicates where we are now to do this flow chart about how to produce, how to understand, and how to develop the safety assurance framework within SUNRISE. And as already mentioned, next year the interactive handbook of the SAF safety assurance framework will be presented. Probably a draft version already during the next midterm event in April, May. But then the actual result of the interactive handbook will be during 2025, I would say. And with that, I think I will hand over the table to Jordi, the task leader for task 2.1, and he will introduce you to the existing global safety assurance frameworks. Over to you, Jordi.
Thank you very much for your words, John-Fredrik. So let me start sharing my screen. So what I'm going to explain today is just the state of the art, so the previous step to the definition of this safety assurance framework that John-Fredrik was telling us that it will be at the end of the day one of the main results of the SUNRISE project when it ends. Okay, so what first of all, what we did in this task that last for around 6-7 months on the beginning of the project. Basically, the first thing we did is to identify the stakeholders, understanding as stakeholders as the main users of the safety assurance framework. Okay, so we have already identified some of them during the proposal phase, but we make an analysis of each one of these stakeholders, and not only the stakeholders, but also the needs that they could have. Okay, once these needs were already identified, the next step was to define the requirements. Okay, it is important that the safety assurance framework covers all the needs and per se all these requirements identified for each of the stakeholders, because at the end of the day, it will be the main purpose of what we are doing. Okay. What is also important is that there are also other initiatives at this moment that they have already attempted to address some of these needs. So these needs, maybe some of them were already identified and worked in some progress, in some projects, sorry. But then we would like to know which were the current status before defining this safety assurance framework from SUNRISE. Okay, and at the end, what we did is perform a gap analysis with this state of the art and the requirements, checking which were of these requirements and needs were already addressed, which one not, and which were the most important to be covered. Okay, so more or less, this is what you will find inside this presentation. Okay, and for sure, for more detailed information, the deliverable to that one, that it's the one that contains this information, it is already public and available under SUNRISE website. Okay, so starting by the stakeholders. Okay, the first one that we analyzed, and it was the homologation technical service. Okay, so the technical service in charge of homologate vehicle, an autonomous function. Okay, so the people who do the test and the procedures to evaluate this function. The second stakeholder analysis was consumer testing, mainly focused on Euro NCAP. Okay. Yeah, another important topic I just forgot to mention at the beginning of this is that we tried to have at least representatives from the consortium for each of the stakeholders. Okay, for example, for the homologation technical service, we had IDIADA. For consumer testing, we have very strong links and conversations with them. Also from IDIADA side, from TNO, that's also partner of the consortium. So this would be very helpful that to understand their needs and what they want. Okay. Then the next one was the OEM. Okay, we also had a representative in SUNRISE consortium from different OEMs, from Renault, from Toyota. So it was also nice to have them in the consortium in order to understand their needs and on what does the SUNRISE safety assurance framework needs to cover. Then the last one was the scenario database host, okay, the scenario database owner. We also have some representatives of the main initiatives in terms of databases around Europe. We have the Streetwise from TNO, Safety Pool from University of Warwick, and also ATSIN initiatives from Renault and Stellantis. Okay. We also had a fifth stakeholder analyzed, that it's the research institutes. Okay, we didn't perform a complete analysis per se, because we realized that covering the needs from these previous four, we were already covering these research institutes. Okay, so we did take them into account, but so their needs are covered, but there is not a specific analysis from them. Okay, so these were the 5 stakeholders analyzed, and now we will have a look to the specific needs that we already identified from each of them. Okay, so the process that we follow is that for each of one, we define this a use case diagram indicating the main actions or the main needs that they could need or perform using this safety assurance framework. And once we had created this use case diagram, we transform it to a specific requirements. Okay, that will later will be used when defining the SUNRISE safety assurance framework, in order to check that we are not forgetting anything. Okay, so if we take a look to the homologation technical service, for example, we know that they had these 3 main needs. That one is the scenario requirements for the scenario database. That the need is that if they want to validate some kind of a function of a vehicle, they need to have a procedure or guidelines in order to pull the specific scenarios from a specific database, and then execute and follow the procedure to validate them. The second one is the process to audit an assessment. Okay, not only with the physical certification test, but also in combination with the open road test and the simulations. And finally, the third one is the monitoring method. Okay, this is a quite recent need that has emerged in the last few years. The thing is that vehicles are now receiving new updates during its lifetime. Maybe that the vehicle it's not the same as the year when the year 1 when they are released to the market, that in the year 5 because they have received some updates and maybe something has changed. So there is this need that we need to make sure that the vehicle is not only safe during its first type approval, we could say, but during complete lifetime of the vehicle. Okay, so this is I said that this is quite new, so we need a procedure and guidelines to how to manage this. Okay, so these were the 3 main needs identified from the homologation technical service that I said were transformed to the requirements to be covered by the safety assurance framework. Okay, if we go to the consumer testing, these were the main needs identified with some conversations with Euro NCAP. So the main need here expressed in form of these 5 different boxes is that as we need a form to complement the physical testing with the virtual testing in order to validate L3, L4, for sure L5 vehicles. Okay, until this moment, to validate and to rate these vehicles with the physical testing, meaning open road or proving ground, it was quite enough. Now that there is the need to complement this testing with the virtual in order to make sure that the function analysis or the vehicle analysis is sure is saved. Okay, so there is you see here that it's the third box that appear in the diagram that selects scenarios for virtual testing meaning software in the loop, hardware in the loop, vehicle in the loop. Okay, also that these new metrics assessments for the virtual methods, there is also a need to cover that, and for sure we do not need to forget the proving ground testing. Okay, so it will take importance as it was before. Again, once these needs were analyzed, were transformed to the requirements. Coming to the OEM, okay, here also the needs are related to the validation and verification methods, okay, and try to work together in a common solution. Okay, there is these needs of a safety statistics that can be extracted from a databases and are really useful for OEMs in order to prove and validate their function from their autonomous vehicles. These unknown safety scenarios that are generated when validating some kind of function, this also can be integrated in a new database that can be directly searched when having a new functionality on the market, that you could go directly to extract these scenarios. It's quite useful for them. This access and method to the scenarios database, SUNRISE is trying to create a federated approach to have to make the life easier to access to these several initiatives, okay, to interconnect all of them, in order that not only OEM but some stakeholder could go there and access to the unique portal and just request the scenarios they need for validate or verify, and this SUNRISE approach could select the scenarios from different databases and then pull it or give it to the specific OEM. Okay. And for sure, we have the verification that, as was more or less commenting before, there is need to increase on the virtual validation, but without forgetting the physical testing. Okay. Then, if we go to the last one, it's a scenario database host. Here we try to identify the needs from the scenario database owners. You see here that on the top of the diagram, we were talking about data requirements because this is something that we need, but SUNRISE framework will not take care of. Okay, we expect to receive this information maybe from different initiatives, but there is probably some oncoming initiatives that will take care of that. But SUNRISE framework, what you see here marked with these lines, is taking care of the scenario identification, characterization, tagging, trying to harmonize all these processes, based for sure on several initiatives ongoing, like open a scenario and an open label. Just coming again with this federated access that it will facilitate a lot a way to integrate or to put more databases on the market. So if we are able to create this federated approach where a stakeholder can connect to the unique portal and then from there have access to all the databases connected there, for sure each database with its own business model, we will not go so much deeper. We will only facilitate the access, and then the stakeholder can pull the scenarios from whatever database with the specific business model they have. Okay. And also the last point is related to the test case requirements, to the generation of tests within a specific determined ODD. Okay, and its assessment. So these were the needs identified and transformed to the requirements from each stakeholder point of view. Okay. And then what we did is take a look to the market to see what initiatives were there and what way were they doing with these needs. They were already covering it. They have taken them into account, or maybe not. So which are these initiatives that we have a look at it? The first one is Head Start. Head Start is the predecessor of SUNRISE. So for sure, all the work done here in SUNRISE is based on all the work performed in Head Start, like from 2019 to 2021. That it's when it finalized. So there is where it was defined the basis of this safety assurance framework. Then we have our twin initiative from Germany. Okay. The initiative that started with Pegasus and now it ended just a couple of weeks ago with the BNB methods project. I said this is a very similar initiative that, in fact, we attend to its final level. It's very its final event, and it's very useful the input and the work performed with them, and we have taken into account so much of the work that they have already done. We also have performed some conferences together, because it's also good to show to the world that we are not just taking this way alone, but also aligned with other initiatives. Okay, and also talking about twin initiatives, we also have very good relation with Sakura project. Sakura, it's a twin project also, but from Japan. Okay, Sakura is already going, and it will have more or less the same lifetime as SUNRISE. So we are also being aligned when defining data frameworks, scenarios specifications, and some other topics that we are currently identifying to exchange information and work together. Okay. Then we also have talked about these databases initiatives that we also have majority of them on the consortium, and have also analyzed which type of maybe scenarios or which type of needs they were already covering. The first one is the Streetwise from TNO. Second one is the safety pool from the University of Warwick, and AdSyn from Renault and Stellantis. Okay. There is also a project that it's lead for Infineon that we have also exchanged with a couple of meetings, trying to align the outputs of both. That it's the Architect ECA 2030, and finally we have also what we were talking in the beginning of the presentation. We have not forgot about the research initiatives. So there are several innovation actions that are happening right now. Each one of them may be focusing on some part of the specific on some specific part of the safety assurance framework. For example, we have the Before Safety that it's focusing so much on the virtual validation. So we are talking with them. We are lucky also to share some of the partners in both consortiums. So this facilitates so much the exchanging of information. Okay, we also have the events project led by CCS, Hydrate for sure. It sounds so familiar for most of you, and for driving that it's focusing on the human factors topic. Okay. So this is the final part of the work performed. Once we had identified all these needs and transformed it to the requirements, once we have analyzed the current initiatives on the market, we perform this gap analysis, we cross-check all the information we have, and we end up with some target requirements, most important topics, identified gaps, call it whatever, but these are the main important points that the SUNRISE safety assurance framework needs to be sure that covers. Okay. So reviewing, having a fast review on this list from the homologation technical service. The first point is this topic on in-service monitoring. As said before, is a topic that it's quite new, but every time has more importance. So it's clear that the vehicles that are now put in the market will be not the same from 5 years from now. So we need to define this procedure, these guidelines, how we will make sure that these vehicles are safe during its lifetime. Okay, so this is a need that it's very recent, that it's new, and SUNRISE safety assurance framework needs to cover. Okay, and then there is the second one, that it's the lack of focus on the querying procedure for pulling scenarios for scenario database to homologate whatever function. This was a need that was already identified, so we will make sure that the safety assurance framework from our project will cover this. Okay. Talking about the consumer testing from the Euro NCAP needs, we were telling this before. There is the need for scenarios for higher levels of automation. Okay, and I said when talking about L3, L4 vehicles that wanted to be validated, we need to complement this physical testing that is already being performed right now with this virtual testing, and we need to a way and some guidelines to know which procedure should we follow, how number of scenarios, which is the number of scenarios that needs to be tested for a completeness test. So there is the need to see how will be the best approach on this virtual validation topic. Okay. Sorry. Then For the needs identified on the OEMs and the gaps that needs to cover, there is this common safety approach. Okay, this need that if every OEMs work together in the same way and we could find a way to integrate on a standardized way to gather and integrate all the data from the different sources to find what we were calling before these unknown safety scenarios, these new safety metrics, in order that to make the life easier to them to validate a new functionality given to the market. This would be beneficial not only for the OEMs, but for most of the CCAM community, in order that we could increase it will be more time efficient, we could say, when a new functionality comes to the market until it's deployed 100% safe. Okay. And then there is this third point that it's quite shared with the scenario database host, that is this standardized European federated scenario-based approach. Okay, this I have explained you before, but it's this main the other main output of SUNRISE project, that it's this front end where any stakeholder could go there and to cover their need if they want to pull the scenarios from whatever need to homologate, to validate, to verify, to facilitate the work, to interconnect all these initiatives and extract the major number of scenarios possible in order to prove and to execute to cover their need. Okay, so these are the gaps identified for the SUNRISE Safety Assurance Framework. Also, I have tried to explain, with the time available, the procedure that we follow and the main important topics that we extract. As said before, there is the deliverable public available under the website. It's deliverable 2.1, so you can find them. But now I think that it's time for questions that me and John-Fredrik will be happy to answer if there are any.
Thank you, Jordi. So we are awaiting your questions. At the moment, I haven't received any. Okay, so we have one in. What about cybersecurity?
John-Fredrik, you want to go first? Yeah, I think, of course, cybersecurity is important since that is something that we have to test. It's not specifically covered in the SUNRISE project, but we need to have that in mind in our future safety assurance framework. Any comments on that, Jordi, in your flow chart?
As I was commenting with this, we are trying, as SUNRISE, it's trying to cover a lot of topics, and for sure the resources are what they are. What we are trying to do is to align with several initiatives around Europe or at international level that may have useful input to this safety assurance framework. So in the case of cybersecurity, we have been discussing last week, for example, with Selfie project, that it's a project, a European project, that it's mainly focused on the cybersecurity part, and we aim to collaborate with them, okay? Providing maybe cybersecurity requirements, or we still are in discussing phase. So for sure, cybersecurity it's a very important topic that needs to be addressed. Maybe it will be not full addressed here in SUNRISE, but we want to make sure that we are compatible or extendable with this information and requirements received from other initiatives.
It is an important question. Any other questions, Julie?
At the moment, not, I must admit.
I can add, as we mentioned in the beginning here, this is the inventory, and we are now working on the actual the SUNRISE Safety Assurance Framework. And with this inventory, I think we have identified the gaps. Now the next phase is where we in Work Package 2 are working in the hopefully to close some of the gaps, and that will be done halfway in spring next year, and then the actual safety assurance framework definition will continue for another year or so.
We have a comment here related to the previous topic of cybersecurity discussed. So it's not a question, but a comment from Mr. Reck that there's also a project called Secure Ride that focuses on cybersecurity for autonomous vehicles. If you have more information on the project, you can always post it in the chat. That would be useful, a website or where we can find more information, or a contact person even, if you know. And then in the meantime, we received a question from Mr. Chen. Were insurance consulted in task 2.1, or is there a future task planned for this?
Jordi?
So the quick answer is that no, insurers for the moment were not considered as a main stakeholder of this safety assurance framework, but we had just a workshop last week trying to identify new stakeholders that they have been not taken into account. Okay, so for sure that maybe the 4 ones that you have seen before, they were the most, the one that will most interact with this safety assurance framework. But I think that the point that you have just raised, talking about insurers, it will be quite nice also to take them into account, at least to try to identify their needs, because maybe it happens that as the researchers that they weren't analyzed per se, but we have already covered their needs, because we have at least these 4 stakeholders, they had most of the general needs covered. So it would be good to maybe to have analyzed if there is a specific need that it's not covered, and we are on time to define some requirements to talk about them.
And then I think what we should approach then would be some type of branch organization for insurers instead of just one. So maybe if we can identify such a global or a European branch organization. Any other?
No, at the moment not. Any last questions from the audience before then we close this webinar? I believe not. So it means we can go to the last part. That is to thank our speakers. Thank you for your attention, and mention that there is actually another webinar soon on scenario-based testing methodologies, and that you're of course welcome to attend it. You can find all information to register for that webinar on the SUNRISE project website and social media. And with this, I'd like to thank you for your attention and close this webinar.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.